All right, let's talk about one of the oldest and most powerful stories ever told, the tale of Cain and Abel. This isn't just some ancient text. It's a raw, incredibly human drama about family, jealousy, the world's very first crime, and the consequences that just keep echoing through the ages.
So the whole thing really boils down to a question that honestly feels just as real today as it must have back then. What happens when you let envy run wild and unchecked?
Okay, so our story kicks off right at the dawn of humanity. We've got two brothers, Adam and Eve's first sons, and they're about to make two very different offerings to God.
All right, so let's get to know these guys. On one side, you have Cain, the firstborn. He's a farmer, a guy who works the soil. Then there's his younger brother, Abel, who's a shepherd. Now, Cain brings an offering of some of his produce, fruits of the soil. But Abel brings the absolute best of what he has, the fat portions from the firstborn of his flock. And you got to remember this detail, because this difference right here, it's what sets the entire tragedy in motion.
And boom, this is the moment where everything just shifts. God accepts Abel's offering, but he rejects Cain's. Now, the text doesn't spell out for us exactly why, but you get the feeling it's all about the quality and the heart behind the gift. And this rejection becomes the spark that's going to light a terrible fire.
So, as you can probably guess, Cain does not take this well. At all. And what comes next is this really crucial conversation, a divine warning that, well, goes completely ignored.
You can almost feel the heat coming off of him. I mean, we're not just talking about being a little disappointed here. This is a deep, burning rage, all mixed up with shame. His face is downcast. He is just completely consumed by resentment for his brother, and maybe for God too.
Seeing this, God gives Cain this incredibly direct warning and a choice. Sin is described as this predator, this wild animal that's literally crouching at your door, just waiting to pounce. The message is so clear. You're in danger. This feeling wants to own you, but you have the power to rule over it. It's this profound statement about free will, telling Cain to get a handle on his jealousy before it gets a handle on him.
But Cain, he doesn't listen. That warning is just ignored, and the story takes a nosedive straight into its darkest, most violent moment.
And this line, wow, it is just chilling. You can feel the premeditation, can't you? He's luring his brother, who has no idea what's coming, away from everyone, out to a place where his anger can finally explode.
And then the unthinkable happens. For the first time ever, a human life is taken by another person. A brother kills a brother. And with that single act of violence born from jealousy, the world is changed forever.
When God asks Cain where Abel is, this is his answer. It's this defiant, sarcastic question that has just echoed through thousands of years of history. I mean, think about it. He's not just lying. He's rejecting the entire idea that he has any responsibility for another human being. It's a total denial of his crime.
Okay, so a crime this big, it's not going to go unanswered. The consequences for Cain are immediate and pretty complex, involving a curse, a whole lot of fear, and yeah, a very famous mark.
And the punishment? Man, it is tailor-made for the crime. Cain, the farmer who got his living from the soil, is now cursed by that very soil. It's not going to grow food for him anymore. He's cut off from his job, his home, his whole identity. And he's doomed to be a restless wanderer.
And Cain gets it right away. He knows what this means. As a wanderer with no home and no community, he's a target. He's afraid that he's just started a cycle of violence and that he's going to be the next one to fall.
But then God's reaction is, well, it's not what you'd expect. He doesn't just let Cain's fear play out. Instead, he declares that anyone who kills Cain will suffer vengeance 7 times over. Now, that number 7 in this context, it basically means complete or total. So it's like God is putting Cain under this bizarre kind of divine witness protection program. And to make this stick, God puts a mark on Cain. Now, it's really important to get this right. It's not just a brand of shame. Yes, it's a sign of what he did, but it's also a sign of God's protection, a sign of mercy, warning everybody else not to take justice into their own hands.
Now, the story doesn't just stop with Cain wandering off into exile. What he did creates these ripples, and it leads to 2 totally different family lines with 2 very different paths.
So even though he's supposed to be this wanderer, Cain actually goes on to build a city. He has a family. His lineage continues for generations. all the way down to this guy named Lamech, who is 7 generations down the line from Adam.
And with Lamech, you really see how that original sin has just snowballed. He brags to his wives that he killed a man just for hurting him. He takes that promise of protection that God gave Cain, and he twists it into this horrible boast of his own brutal, out-of-control vengeance. The violence is just multiplied down the generations.
But, and this is a big but, that's not the only story unfolding here. Where you have this line of growing darkness, you also get a new branch of hope. Adam and Eve have a third son, Seth, and Eve names him that because she sees him as a replacement, a new beginning from God after what happened to Abel.
And with Seth's family line, we see something completely different happen. While Cain's descendants are boasting about violence, Seth's descendants are marked by a return to faith. It's all about restoring that connection with God, a really hopeful counter-narrative to the tragedy that kicked this all off.
So, when you boil it all down, the story of Cain and Abel isn't just about the first murder. It's about that choice we all face, right? The choice between wrestling with our own jealousy and anger or letting it consume us. And it's a powerful reminder of how one single choice can echo out, creating a legacy, for better or for worse.